to me, the practice of gratitude in all of those pieces, those moments, right? In this play of ever-changing destruction and regrowth, it's what makes it worthwhile. And to me, like a little bit of it is really it gets to the heart of yoga, which is an exploration of what life is, right? Is this development of our philosophy, right? This love of wisdom and understanding. So the tantric perspective is pretty radical. The idea is Satchitananda, that our basic essence, the essence of us all, is being, is consciousness, and is bliss, right? And it's pretty kind of almost pedantic, sort of the tantric idea of this is if that wasn't the case, why would existence be, right? And so this really radical idea that when we strip away all of these fears of this limited time in a body, all of the aches and pains and troubles that are just part of the journey, all of those identities and hats that we kind of misidentify from the tradition's perspective, is that our purest state is just joy and freedom, right? Satchitananda is freedom itself. So that's a pretty radical thing, especially when our hamstrings are talking to us and we're trying to figure out how to look chic in a mask. Life always throws us some crazy turns, right? And we are certainly in one now. So to me, gratitude is, and even in some tantric texts, is even yama. It's a personal practice unto itself. And so for me, like that becomes kind of practical or useful when I remember those moments when I step back in the momentum, especially in a moment of frustration. I step back and just think of the gratitude for those blessings, whether it's Zoe or the girls
Phoebe
or whatever it is, right? That to me is just like it's like a little bit of a dharmic invitation. It's a little bit of a reminder, just like when you catch that sunset, right? And you just see this resplendent beauty and you just step back out of the momentum of the moment. And it's just this, it's like a little hit of your heart. So the idea in the tradition is that that's a muscle. It's like santosha. Think of all the work around contentment we've done in the 430 class. Is we, through the conscious choice, because the journey of mind will always take us down some dark and scary places. It's just available. The nature of the mind is to turn, right? So it's through creating a little bit of stillness and then a conscious choice to apply the resource of the heart. And gratitude for me is just a really practical way to do that. And so just because we've, I'm going to live up to the way we're selling it and do a generally more gentle practice tonight. We're going to head into shoulders and hips, and gratitude is your mission should you choose to accept it. But what I am going to do tonight is, and I'm really open to feedback how this is working for everyone, is that tonight after we're going to kind of ease into it, we're going to take care of some things, bring ourselves out. And then I am gonna do a little bit of a vinyasa bit. I'm just gonna do just a little section, maybe 15 minutes, maybe not quite that much, of just sun salutes. And so we're gonna kind of give the more intermediate folks a little more focus. And the idea there will be the folks who are a little more appropriate to stay with a gentle practice, you will just have some time to either just flow easily and gently with yourself, follow along in the way that works, or just give yourself a break. So that's going to be our little experiment tonight. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to do, how am I doing? Sorry for the slow start. Good question though, Susan. I hope that was helpful for folks. Is I was also gonna, after our deeper relaxation practice, was gonna do, it just fits really nicely with gratitude as a theme, is do a little bit of the heart empowerment practice. So those of you who don't want to sit, not that you would have to sit necessarily, for that could also just slip out. So I'll just kind of give us a heads up that That's the plan. We are going to start lying on our backs, yogis. I've got you muted. So if you need to ask a question at any point, please do so. Let's do a real gentle blanket just running down the spine. Oh, props are going to be the classics, a block and a strap. Let's do a blanket. If you were using classic yoga Mexican blanket here, it would be opened up once. And then we'll do either a tri or a four-fold. So the four-fold will be a little bit narrower, which will give you a little bit more shoulder opening. So 3 or 4. Some of us also might want to already know something with the shoulders, might want to have something underneath the head. If you do that, go real minimal. And similar to what we did last week, which was our butts on the mat, but this week, the whole spine is going to be on the roll, meaning that your sacrum, instead of your butt spilling down to the floor and encouraging the pelvic tilt, we're just going to let the low back be a little flatter. So pelvis to back of skull is all lined up. Might find pressing the elbows down, giving yourself a little bit of a crunch action to pull the back ribs longer. And then neck might be happy here, or you could also do a little bump into the, I'm realizing I'm not quite fitting. I'm realizing Jeff might need to get creative on the whole spine being supported. Is you can do a little crinkle, or either way will work, or none. Arms are going out to the sides. If hips, or especially the hamstrings or hips just being a little bit more cranky, keeping the knees a little bit bent or dropping the knees in has a subtle little relaxation effect into pelvis. If you're happy though, of course, you could stretch your legs out. Palms could be on belly or out to the sides. Take a breath into the space you occupy. And just open yourself to the exhale, assuming you've settled, of course. And however we're just going to do that a couple times, please. And we can connect to that same little directed breath we've been working with. Inhaling down into pelvic floor, sits bones broadening. Take your time with it. And we'll keep playing with this idea of exhale, kind of with the sense of letting go, freedom, moving up to heart. But also with exhale, please just notice the heaviness of the bony landmarks that are touching your floor. Your elbows and heels, backs of your hands maybe. So comfortable, but a little deliberate, taking your time, inhaling as if it was a nectar. Feel it touching the tips of your nostrils, moving right down into pelvic floor. There's more space to fill down there. You deserve to be filled. Fill yourself up in the belly, not pushing. And just really open to exhale. Feel it reaching back up into heart, relaxing your eyes, opening your ears. Scalp relaxes, jaw relaxes, brain relaxes. I didn't look as closely as I should have to the list of folks here tonight, so I didn't notice how many were from far away. But here in the DC area, we have had some Well, unusual heavy cold spring and a very rainy day. In yoga, it's a whole bigger story, but it's called the tamas. It's the energy of inertia and heaviness. Often it works against us, but it's just kind of something to recognize, and especially as we just settle in and quiet nervous system and mind, you can kind of feel the sweetness of it. Just meaning the heaviness of this rainy day, kind of a sleepy vibe in the air. Just for a couple more rounds, we'll direct the breath down into pelvic floor, becoming smoother and more elegant. Check in if there's any sense of it being pushed or pulled through the sinuses, and just soften. Like a nectar, there's this silky smooth feeling in the back of your throat. And so inhale has just been established now down into pelvic floor. Feel that nice sense of freedom and gravity and strength. And now as exhale takes you back up to heart, just with your mind's eyes, the next exhale does that also. Have your elbows and heels. You're just going to stay, that part of you hearing my voice, right in your heart. Anahata chakra. Said to the seed sound here is yam. From the Vedic perspective, it's your spiritual center, your navel. Manipura is your physical center. It said in the first three chakras is really kind of where we live. 90% of all suffering is there. It goes right to Susan's question, really, is this idea that at Anahata, if we were to Vedana, if we were to pierce this chakra, there's 50 times more energy available than in the lower three chakras combined, being earth and survival and sensuality and water, fire and power, all those very human aspects of self. Stay with the breath pattern. We all kind of know this in a deeper way because we've all experienced someone who is just kind of in their heart and they just have a lightness and buoyance. And of course, we've all had experiences of being in love or seeing your baby giggle or whatever it is that just frees up that capacity, that resource that is this Guya Hridayam, this cave of your heart, this spiritual center of you. And so just feeling your presence at heart itself. Please take a moment and just bring you there. That's often tricky for me, and I found a good technique is to bring a little Joe, I was Jody back then, a little Jody into my heart. If you feel any resistance, don't think about it at all, just bring yourself to that time when unconditional love was 100% a given, still is, of course. Just feel yourself in your heart. Those ideas Susan was reminding us of, those biggest invitations of life in yoga. What is this opportunity? What is this gift? it service? Is it the depth of knowledge? Is it truth? Just bring yourself to the resource of your heart. Feel the breath pattern established. As you feel yourself just kind of getting a little bit absorbed, we'll just take a moment, we'll get moving in a minute, to count our blessings, to cultivate gratitude. From the biggest perspectives to the most simple, take a moment to count your blessings and just explore growing the feeling of gratitude. Not to get it right, not to ignore other feelings, for its own sake, for experiencing the power of heart. The yogis say there's 4 aspects of life that are most key: Dharma, our true purpose and path. Should have started with moksha, our relationship to spirit. Dharma, our true purpose and path. Kama, our relationship to pleasure in all forms. And artha, to distill it as health and wealth. Let's take it right back to artha. Bring your right hand to your heart and your left hand to your belly. And as your asana teacher for the next little bit, I will just invite you to come all the way to gratitude for this remarkable body, this brain that is unmatched by anything in the known universe. And just take a breath, even with the aches and pains, the troubles, and the fact that we only get it for a limited time. Feel gratitude for this remarkable vahana, this vessel of you, and the resource of heart. Going to slide our hands down to our sides. If your feet are not flat, keep them flat. If this blanket setup needed to be adjusted or needs to be over, that is totally fine. We're just going to get ourselves moving just a little bit, get some prana moving, and then we'll get a little more specific. For most of us, this setup should work just fine for this little Vinny yoga technique many of you are familiar with. We're just going to connect breath with movement. Inhale your right arm up. Head stays heavy as your head turns away from your arm, looks to the right. The ideal is at the top of inhale, your arm is as far back, remember you're a little elevated, as it's comfortably going to go, and your head is as far over as it's comfortably going to go. Exhale brings you all the way back, ideally. Hand lands the bottom of exhale and head is back to center. Inhale, left arm comes up, jaws relaxed, head is heavy. Stay present to heart in the brightness of gratitude as you just add this simple movement. Allow the movement to follow the breath. There's a nice mantra of the heart and breath. So on inhale and hum on exhale. So once you got a little rhythm here, you might find that that layer is helpful. You could also remind yourself, just in a gentle way, it's already established, that inhale is connected down into pelvic floor. Exhale is just really be given its deference as it takes you back up to heart in terms of the internal flow. We're still, I stopped moving, but we're still doing our little backstroke. Keep the eyebrow center relaxed, jaw stays relaxed. It's tricky. It's a meditation in motion. So a lot of us just found a fluid space, and some of us it's just a little chunky. And we just don't let ourselves get caught up in that. We just find the smoothness, just clear in the prana a bit. And let's say the next time your left hand comes down, that will be our last one. Let's take advantage of the setup. This will work even if you're just on your back. We're just going to take a block, please, which I should have said have close to you. Super simple. We're just going to take a block or something with this about the same width as the long end. So we're just holding the two smaller bits of the block here. And we're just going to inhale. I get it down close to my hips, and I'm just inhaling the block up over the head. And I'm keeping a little bit of a squeeze on it. No goal towards the floor. Remember, the floor is a little extra lifted up. And we could actually just connect this to that same rhythm. You're slowly inhaling the block up and overhead. Just taking it to where shoulders are happy. Don't force the block down. If you're getting any discomfort, the next time your block is pointed up towards the ceiling, pause there. And don't force, don't jam them, but draw the shoulders. They should be pretty integrated with the setup we have. But you might just, the experiment would be to draw the shoulders a little bit more into the sockets, and then see if that increases your range of motion. The other action that would be helpful for everybody would be as the block is coming overhead, please press back into the blanket a bit or floor with the back of your head. There's just a little more engagement. If you're watching me, I'm doing a horrible demo, so I'm just going fast. You guys stay with the rhythm of breath. Just do one more complete one. But this next one, do the one more complete one, and then take the block just to where there's no goal. Just take it over your head, so going towards the floor behind you. And then pause just when you hit some resistance, right? And squeeze the block stronger. Take the elbows out to the sides and start to bring the block down towards your head. Chin will probably want to tuck here, press back. Some of us might not be finding much here. It's just a good thing. You could try pulling the bottom tips of your shoulder blades together. Actually, everybody could try that when you get to wherever as deep as you go, and keep the bottom tips of the shoulder blades together as you stretch your block straight back overhead. Exhale the block down. Set it, let's take the block rather, right between your inner thighs. Feet are flat. Bridge pose should work here. It should be a good setup for shoulders. Just remember you want to land on the blanket. Give the block a little bit of a squeeze, everybody. Chin is a little lifted, throat nice and open, palate's pressing back, elbows pressing down. Shoulders can kind of take care of themselves here a bit. Pressure heels down. We're just staying with shoulders and saying good evening to core here as well. Of course, lift up into Setu Bandhasana, bridge pose. Keep a little hug, the heels squeezing towards one another. And then here it's tricky is how we, Roberta, how we kind of get into the hamstrings here is often you'll hear me say, press your heels away from you and really extend through the tailbone, which would be good if we were working on decompressing the low back, plug that in. The hamstring trick is some interesting physiology I'll resist, but don't overfire them. The folks who are maybe feeling that hamstring effect from all the sitting lately, try pulling your heels in to scoop your tail. Watch out, they can fire up a cramp real easy. So it's subtle. Exhale, everybody, I'm taking it too far. Groin, sink you down to the blanket, just pause. We're gonna head back there in a second, but let's see if we can squeeze in a quick little Sukhi Randrasana between bridges. So for this one, we might need to modify just because we're balancing a little bit, especially the folks with the 4 blanket fold. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. Squeeze in a bit. Squeeze in a bit isometrically between the knees. Stick your bum out a little bit. Create some lumbar curve. What I'm going to recommend is you press your palms down at your sides. That will stabilize everything. And even if you normally hold the back of the thigh for lumbar support, you might find, because it will give you some low back support, that this is enough, but listen to body before me. Everybody keep your inner thighs toned, palms pressing down. Check in to see if breath is available to move down into pelvic floor. Exhales reaching you back up to heart, remembering some gratitude. Easy to lose the gratitude, right, when we're feeling these big anti-gravity muscles. And most of you have heard it too many times, but my other standard joke 325 is these muscles have been tight ever since the invention of the chair. If you're feeling good and stable, and if you're hugging in between your inner thighs, of course, you'll be pretty stable here. Then you could make it more interesting, do some of our variations, add in some core work. Keeping that hug, also knees should probably work. Exhale, come on down. Switch it up. Second side. Don't force, but take your left knee away from you just till hip tells you, it says good evening, and then squeeze in a little extra. Remember, by creating that engagement, we're not only supporting the low back, but we're strengthening the counter muscles. Strengthening the counter muscles to the glutes you're feeling are key to opening them up. Key trick for opening up hamstrings is strengthening quads. No part of us operates independently. Make sure you have some lumbar curve as your right foot comes away from the mat. Palms pressing down just to kind of get situated in terms of the blanket. This little prop we're using today that you already probably know. Like this, because this is the perfect place to work. Finding this dance between strengthening the unsung core muscles of your inner thighs and finding a little opening in hip. If more core work is appropriate, arms stretch up, arms out to the sides, even just that little bit of crunch action. That can be a nice way to keep the ribs integrated. The trick there, though, of course, is ideally a little lumbar curve. One more breath moves into your left hip. Exhale, come on down. We're going to do heresy. We're going to do heresy bridge. Thank you, Trina Altman. Is go just a little bit wider with your feet. Turn your feet out just a little, not crazy. So knees, shin bones, and feet are lined up. We're not taking advantage of the ankles, not torquing the ankles, but you're just going a little, not pigeon-toed, was that? A little externally rotated, turn your feet, penguin-toed, is that a thing? Is a little bit externally rotated. So what we want to do here is we're just changing up the forces and legs a little bit. And we want to just spread the toes, please, now. Reach your big toes in towards one another, little toes out to the sides. And we're a little too wide for a block. What we're going to do is squeeze between the feet. So there's just a really good, vibrant, active energy. The folks with knee stuff, you're going to be extra sensitive here as we go up. But you can already feel it a bit, is that you are stabilizing, working your feet and hugging into the midline. These are really good and unique active forces into knees. It would be very good, it would be a good choice for a few of us to work it right here, right now, go right back to that breath pattern and gratitude. I'm gonna lead squeezing in. Arms are at your sides, we're heading towards bridge pose. Lift up. Squeeze in between your feet so your ankles and your knees are still the same width, so we're not splaying the knees out. Might find that curling the shoulder blades is a little more available here. Press back into your head. Let's just try pressing down through the heels, pressing down through the skull, and lifting up through heart. You guys get out of here whenever you need to. But it's kind of a unique pose, right? Bridge pose. This could be a perfect place for a few of us just to work a few rounds of gratitude. Inhale down into pelvic floor and the power and weight of heels. Exhale that lightness and brightness of heart. As you get that little bit of feeling of gratitude, that little bit of lightness that comes with that, this might be a nice in for some of that striving that kind of steals that away, right? So maybe in glutes or brow or your own usual suspects. Exhale, come on down, groins get deeper. Feel that moment when sacrum lands. Please pause for a moment, close your eyes, look down into heart. Let's all take that breath together, inhaling into the strength and steadiness of pelvic floor and sits bones. Feel it around the inside of the pelvic bowl and sacrum. And then just really open yourself to the letting go, the freedom that is exhale, taking you back up to heart, to those blessings, to that broader feeling of gratitude that all those specifics reminded you of. From here, yogis, we're just gonna roll to your right side. Press yourself up with your paws. And we're gonna maneuver ourselves around to all fours. And we're gonna work some stuff from here. We'll take our time getting there, but this is also where we'll hopefully not go too. Hopefully just keep it useful for us, some of us, to freestyle here a little bit. And like I said, I'll work us towards some sun salutes. But let's come on back to, or come to rather, to good old table position. If you've ever done my class, you know what's happening next. Is Chakra Vikrasana. I'll resist. It's Manipura. It's the chakra we're not working with as much tonight, but we always activate it. It's the seat of change and willpower itself. So key for health on so many levels. Exhale, we'll just start with some cat-cow. The folks who know Chakra Vikrasana, feel free, of course, just to head right there. Exhale is pressing the floor away from you. Pull the navel in. Clear yourself out. From that empty place, feel the inhale for what it is, a gift, filling you with life, force, and energy and oxygen. And of course, we're finding the full attenuation of breath and spine and connecting those into a little cosmic dance that's really, of course, always happening. We're just choosing to be more conscious of it. And that's so much of what yoga is like these remarkable tools that have been developed to help us be more conscious in these relationships. And then if you're feeling warm, go ahead and start to fall back to whatever degree is useful for you. Your bum towards a child's pose and allow your navel to pull in a little bit more and you to empty. Same idea, it's just bigger. Pull the heels of your hands back to pull your heart forward at the top of inhale. Please continue. Once you get a little warmed up, and we're probably already there actually with the way we started, The folks who are a little more familiar could just lengthen their table position just a little bit. And then remember, you can start to pull the heels of the hands back. Keep your heart, sternum pulling forward as you drop down into the elbows. And there's often some good kind of mid-back access, and it's win-win. Don't let it affect the flow of breath, but as you start to pull the heart forward, you'll feel that, of course, your navel, your rectus abdominis, your belly is getting a bigger, deeper stretch. And that's where we want the bigger focus, is really hollowing out the groins. Let's just do one more and we'll meet back up in table. Spread your fingers, thumbs not so much. Good general hand setup is going to be to have the creases of your wrists parallel. Hands a little wider than shoulders, and in my experience, we tend to underestimate the width of our shoulders, so go a little bit more than you think. Look up, soften your heart. Speaking of hamstrings, let's take our knees back 4 or 5 inches, hearts melting down, squeeze in as if there is conveniently located a block between your heels and your knees. The other action that I'm going to encourage, because we tend to lose it in this forward bend, is to stick your bum out a little more than feels right. Keep that squeeze between knees and heels and take yourself back into a shameless dog, meaning you're going to keep your knees real bent and really lift the groins up. Modifications here for folks who it's not working to be on the wrists. You could go forearms. You could also do a child's pose or polar bear pose, where we work the same actions in the hands. Everybody press down into the knuckles of your palms. The folks who are maybe doing a child's pose variation, you can lift up the heels of your hands and armpits. The folks who are in dog, squeeze in a little bit more. Try to be so specific. Find your pubic bone, just in your mind's eye, and roll it back. Deepen your groin. Sits bones lift up. Press the heels back. So you're gonna bring the legs straighter to find some more hamstring stretch. Some of us are gonna slide forward into plank for a few breaths. The folks in plank, head's an extension of the spine. Look a little bit more forward and soften your heart. Check out that your ribs are integrated. Everybody hug into the midline. Some of us are going to be in table pose at this point. Do all the same stuff. Squeeze into the midline. Activate your inner thighs. Shoulders slide forward. Heart melts down. Chin stays up. Plank pose, folks. Come on down into table. Let's just give ourselves a pretty quick floating table here. Balancing table rather. Stretch your right leg, floating table. That sounds fun. We'll do that next week. From there, that's very advanced, Susan. From here, you're going to stretch your right leg back. It's chapter 4 of the sutras. Inner thighs lifting up. So as you take your right leg back, it's going to tend to want to externally rotate. That's because of the glutes. So we're going to activate the inner thighs. That's going to create space in your low back. Look down between your hands, please. Pull your ribs in to reach back through your heel. Feel your core engage. So the folks, we're still in balance the table. Right leg is stretching back. Left arm is stretching forward. Squeeze into the midline. Lengthen through the back of your skull. Folks on palms, it's all about the right index finger knuckle. Balance here is going to be squeezing hand and knee together. And just because, once again, we got a bunch of intermediate folks, a few of us might want to reach back, grab the foot. Kick back, bend the elbow, and turn yourself open. Let's, as a group, you guys, take your time. We're going to have a little time and space on the other side. We're coming back. So this is going to be a big chunk of us. Dog pose is going to be the place to go. Please go. You're on your own. On the Joe and wrist folks front, a good thing to do post. Because the other thing, Joe, is we want to make sure The downside of fists is that that flexion piece is 100% taken out of it. It's also the good piece because you can do all the weight bearing stuff without the flexion. But we want to keep that. We want to work on that. We want to work on that range of motion, finishing the sentence. So some folks are in dog, and everybody in dog can actually do this as well. Some black belt shit, but you're going to press down into the knuckles of your palms. And most of us in child's pose, lift up the heels of your hands. And without taking too big of a therapeutic detour here, the thing to always keep in mind with elbows and wrists is the foundation is the shoulders. So there's all sorts of versions you could be here, like polar bear pose, child's pose, even dog pose is, right? So the thing to work right here, right now, is now grip your finger pads and lift up your armpits. It's the hollowing out, it's that shoulder integration is key. And I know this is probably, hopefully this is not too much for our platform here, but then the other thing you might observe as you lift up the armpits is that the shoulders are now rolling in towards the neck. That's a whole other thing. So keep all the action and now just gently, I'm exaggerating it, turn the upper arm bones away from each other. And so lots of ways you could just work this, right? So if wrists are just an area for you, working that on a wall, working that on a table as a forward bend. Oh, dog pose. You don't need me to tell you. Come on down. Let's all meet up in table. And we're just going to head right to that other side of, well, in the future, it's going to be floating table. Stretch your left leg back. Internally rotate it. Pull the ribs in. Don't let it be jargon. Activate your core. Create more space for your heart, more space for gratitude. Do that with a little bit of a shrug, a physical shrug. Slide your shoulders up towards your ears. Look a little more forward. Feel the difference between softening your heart and popping the ribs out. You guys, where are we? Right arm is stretching forward. And then we're just making the choice here, right? This could be a really good place to work. All those actions in the hands that Joe is helping us tune into are going to be key here. Nice. Who's that? Kristen, beautiful. From there, hug in strong. And then a few of us might just give us that, that clasp bend, your knee, you reach back. Yep, you're all set up for it. Press your elbow away from you, turn your head back. Excellent, you guys. And then some of us are coming down into some version of child's pose. Some of us are pressing back up into dog. Now's a lot to think about. So your hands are now your feet in effect. So you can plug in those tools, but, and assuming you're there, this is available, let your sense organs just quiet and just take a 3 or 4 just smooth, even breaths, either in dog pose or child's pose. And then the folks in dog pose, if the exhale is not as long and as smooth as the inhale, then go ahead and give yourself a moment or two in child's pose. Let go of striving. Gratitude available now, as worthwhile as a practice as opening up your hamstrings. Let's all meet up in table position. We're gonna step some of us might need blocks here on either side of your hands. We're gonna step through with your right foot. So we're stepping through. Back knee can either be down or at this point, we're gonna work a few things here. So back knee can stay down, or of course, we're just gonna turn it into a lunge. I'm gonna give us a little more of the more active version of this stuff, of this one. So remember, knee can stay down, right hip is drawing back, we're hugging into the midline. Everybody look down towards the floor, pull your ribs in. Pull your ribs in. The folks with the uplifted back thigh, you're gonna see if it makes sense to connect the back thigh lifting up and your ribs pulling in. From there, maybe you take some of the weight off your fingertips here, or maybe you even come up to your front knee. Pull the ribs in. Could be a good place to work. We could make this considerably more challenging by extending your arms forward, out to the sides, cactus arms. Work in the core. Remember, back knee can still be down, or it can come down at any point. From here, whatever variation you're in, your left hand is gonna be back on the floor, right hand is going towards hip. We're gonna turn ourselves open to the right. From here, squeeze the front knee into the midline, squeeze the back knee into the midline. This could be a really good place to work those actions and foundation. For others of us, we're gonna extend the top arm up like you're giving someone 5, and use that 5 to turn your heart more open. Everybody hug your back heel into the midline. Big bright breath, reach across your arms. Exhale is taking you right back down. We're either stepping back into a child's pose or stepping back into a downward facing dog. Everybody work the wrists a bit, press down into the knuckles of the palms, armpits lift up. Dog folks, look up a bit, lift your groins a bit. Much harder here in dog, but see if that little bit of hollowness in your armpits is available. It can be a little counterintuitive sometimes because the armpits actually just need to come forward. Really good. Some of us might want to slide forward into plank. You're free to give yourself a few bonus breaths in plank. We're coming back down through table as a group and step in left foot forward. If you took it right into a lunge last time, you'll take it right into a lunge or an uplifted knee lunge. This time, square it off. Everybody, pull your front heel back, right hip draws forward, squeeze into the midline. Feed that strength with a smooth, steady inhale, not only into pelvic floor, but into legs and heels and feet. You're heading in the, basically where you went last time. Hands might come to front knee. Other good place to play could be just taking some of the weight off your fingertips. Lengthen through the crown. Doesn't seem like it, but cactus arms, but especially reaching forward, really puts a lot more challenge into core. Right hand is coming down. Left hand is coming to hip. Remember, back knee can drop any point, squeeze into the midline. Feel that squeeze is gonna allow you to get longer in 2 directions, be bigger, extend some of that gratitude out into the world, reach your crown through your heel, maybe arm reaches up, palm goes forward, broaden across your heart from the back body. Nice, Joe. Nice, Michael. Exhale, unwind. Okay, so this is where I'm just gonna lead, and I'm behind schedule because I'm Joe Miller, this is where I'm just gonna lead a sun salute or 2. So some of us might wanna step back and do some of the things we've worked on or other familiar stuff. As a group, I'm gonna lead us to stepping forward to Uttanasana. That's a standing forward bend. Second toes parallel. Create a feeling here as if you were gonna jump forward. Squeeze in with your heels a little bit. And then everybody, give yourself a deeper bend in your knees than you need to reach down with your index and middle fingers and hook the corresponding big toes. Spread your feet out a lot. Get some support from the earth. Exhale, let your head go. Knees are bent more than you need. In fact, have your knees bent so much that your belly is on your thighs. Pull from there. Keep your toes spread. Pull on your big toes. Wait for an exhale and see if as you pull on your big toes, you can also relax your head, which can be surprisingly challenging anytime, but particularly when you're doing a bunch of stuff as you are now. Relax your head and your jaw, let gravity decompress the spine. Keep pulling on your toes and now pull your elbows wider. Squeeze your heels in, breath is still moving. Start to slowly, you can get into a real struggle between low back and hamstrings here, don't. but start to press your heels back and start to bring your legs straighter, just to the point where there's a good amount of sensation. I don't need to be so redundant, but before we shift and get into the flow I just promised, inhale into pelvic floor, heels, exhale into heart. You're gonna release your toes. Hands could bump to hips or overhead as we sink into Utkatasana, fierce pose. Flow back is an issue. Keep your hands on your knees. Squeeze in everybody between your heels. And of course, you're just in charge of the depth of this pose. Here, we're going to keep the thighs parallel. These are all different possibilities. Take a quick moment. Inhale into pelvic floor. Notice how the weight is distributed between your two heels. Even them out. Press into both of them as you bring yourself up. Ground the thighs back more than feels right. Watch out for locking out your knees. Stick your bum out a little bit. Balance it out by pressing from tailbone to heels. Arms get wider. Palms pull forward. Draw down like you're pulling down on some resistance. Hug the heels. Hug the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. Curl into your upper back. But wait, there's more. Spin your little fingers in. Squeeze the power of the legs. Lift up your heart. Shine out some of that gratitude. Stretch out through your arms. Big, bright breath. Next exhale is bringing you all the way forward. Really feel navel moving in towards spine, strong legs. Pranam, slow it down. Hands come up to your knees. Heart lifts up, tail lifts up. Be bigger. Exhale is taking you back inside. Fingertips are at the sides of feet or blocks. We're stepping it back with the right foot, please. Into a lunge, hips squaring, pull back into your front heel, pull from your back heel into the midline, pool strength at the base of your spine. Knee dropping down would absolutely work here, good variation. No need to necessarily come up, good place to work lunge. It's a lifetime of work in any lunge. Is for others of us, heading more back into the shoulders, hands can come up to front knee, scoop the tail. For the folks heading towards this warrior one, is take a quick moment at this little bus stop and from your tailbone, press down into your back foot, anchor it, 100%, inhale, stretch it up, Virabhadrasana 1, like a warrior who just learned that the war is over. Good work, you guys. Good choices. Exhale is bringing you all the way back down. Stepping back into plank. Listen to your body before me. Take a big, bright breath. Some of us are going to float through chaturanga, really integrating the ribs. Some of us are going to be warmed up enough for an up dog. Some of us are going to ground the pelvis and ground the navel and pull ourselves into a cobra. Some of us are going to make a little pillow for our foreheads and breathe into our low backs as we rock our knees side to side. Up dog, folks, of course, you'll just end up in dog. We'll meet you there. Other folks might want to take a moment, pull the ribs in, really take advantage of the shifts to work the core real deliberately and to take care of our backs, of course, as we get to the dog pose. Everything is optional. Right leg maybe reaches up and back. Maybe we pull the ribs in and really stretch from our fingertips through our heels. Watch out for your left knee wanting to lock out. That's what mine's doing. Step your right foot all the way through. It's a different tradition, but often a haya sound can be helpful. Squared it off. Take a moment. We've got that other half of warrior one, or whatever you did on the first side. Yeah, find your exhale, square it off. Hands are going to come up to the front knee. Let's pause. Really feel that, don't let it be jargon, core relationship to pressing yourself, rooting yourself into the earth. What does it take? Inhale is taking you up as you're ready. What does it take? What are the ingredients to find gratitude. Heart lifts a little more. Nice, you guys. Exhale is taking you all the way back down. Oh, let's do this, you guys, since I'm not watching the clock too well. Let's step it right back to dog from there. Left leg is going to go up and back. Ekapada Rajakopatasana. I'm sorry, Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pull your ribs in. Stretch way back. Yeah, and technically we want to step through. So you can step through for a bonus lunge. But then I know I apologize for the trauma, the sequence. Step it right back into dog pose. We'll all meet up in dog or some variation. Then we're going to exhale. We're going to come on down to some version of child's pose. Making a little pillow for your head and really widening out your knees. Of course, that will not be the repose for some of us, so prop accordingly. Or even just maneuver yourself around to where you just feel steady and supported. You can pause this little bit of momentum that we plugged into class. And this field of gratitude, even for that little bit of vitality, right, that comes with as we stoke the fire. But you know what I'm going to say, which is inhaling like a nectar down into pelvic floor. Exhale with that feeling of ah. And now be a little deferential to exhale, or consciously turn down the volume. So now as exhale happens, you're just going to choose to give a little bit more space. And not strain at the end, but also I find it useful just to kind of follow the depth, that there's a little more letting go is available. There's an opportunity for whatever form you've given yourself, or elbows or any of the bony landmarks to be heavier. Structures of tongue and mouth can be helpful, and more subtle patterns of holding. Cool. And we're just going to pull ourselves up and around. And we're going to maneuver ourselves back to our backs and have some, we're just going to do Suptapad, sequence, is have some strap or tie. And we're also going to flow the plan. Oh, maybe I'll stay with it. Is the plan was to do Shavasana, the 61 points, which we haven't gotten to in a bit. So just to say, from after this little bit of hamstring work, we'll just head right into Shavasana. So have whatever you'll be wanting close by for convenience sake. Bend your right knee if you're all set. Stretch your right leg up. Can be a little less fastidious about the low back hamstring stuff, just especially because we're at the end of class, and this idea of quieting nervous system a little bit more and be a little more deferential to exhale is where I want to encourage you. That being said, of course, a little bit of healthy challenge, struggle and stress, every layer of us, with perhaps the exception of heart, who knows, is needs that, right? So we're gonna give remember we're using a little less of the strap, so instead of cranking your elbows down at the floor, let your arms even be straight, even give your shoulders up here a little bit for core, meaning if the shoulders come up, the ribs can be a little smoother. Hug your both legs into the midline. Please press your left heel down and then press your right heel away from you. So the effect is the strap is helping you engage the hamstring. So I'm got the strap looped around the ball of the foot. I'm pulling the ball of the foot towards the toes and pressing the heel opposite away from the toes and rolling my right sits bone down towards the floor. That's kind of specific, but feel that you can just have them plugged in. Let go of the unnecessary work. And inhale into pelvic floor. Exhale all the way to the very bottom. Feeling sort of the the letting go of that exhale also as an invitation to just notice any patterns of holding. Left leg is hugging into the midline. Part 2, both straps are going into your right hand. Spread the toes, turn your foot first. Press through the ball of the big toe like you're pressing on the gas in your car, and take your right leg out to the side. Here, the folks who tend to have a little extra lumbar curve, you'll find that scooping of the tail might be useful. I described your adductors, these inner thigh muscles you're feeling right here earlier, as your unsung core muscles. That is just mega true in terms of taking care of some of the toughest structures as humans. Our sacrum and lumbar just need more support, generally speaking. Inhale is bringing you back up. Part 3, of course, is the twist. We're taking both straps into your left hand, right arm out to the side, reach through your heel. Pause here for a second though, and spread your toes and go a little, I don't know why I always say this, Kung Fu foot is go a little knife edge foot. So the only way I can think about describing it is as if you were walking on the little toe side of your foot, right? It's E version is what it's called. Press your right palm, shoulder down. Exhale, take the leg across the body. You kind of work, if you resist the right hip coming up for a moment, so there's less spinal twist going on, you can feel, you can even bring your right thumb into that crease and pull it away. And kind of, some of us will be getting some kind of unique IT band, peroneal muscles, outer shin stuff. And then, of course, let's head to our more familiar, let the hip come up. We're not trying to get the foot anywhere in particular. In fact, as a lot of you guys know, the one I really like to focus on in these belly twists is the rotation of the trunk in the opposite direction. Try pressing the elbows down and turning your heart to the right. Inhales extending you through crown and heel. Exhales bringing you back to center. Let's bend the knee to get out of here. And just pause. Feel your legs. There's something for gratitude. Legs. Heck yeah. Butterflies. The list. It's amazing. Bend your left knee. And we'll switch it up just like before. Take a moment to watch out for any automatic pilot actions here. No need for military posture to creep in. No need to pull the elbows back. Here, giving up the shoulders and letting chin be a little more tucked will actually allow the core muscles to slide back a bit. Pull on your foot so you can press the heel in the opposite direction. Roberta totally knows this, but this idea of it is true of all the muscles, but extra true with the hamstrings, longest tendinous, most tendinous muscles in the body. So we want to engage the muscles as we're stretching them. That's going to keep the stretch in the belly of the muscle. In the belly of the muscle, there's potential energy as the muscle gets longer. Length equals strength in muscles. At the attachment of the muscle, in this case, the sits bones, and at your knee, sits bone, is where there's potential injury. So we always want to have some muscle engagement anywhere we're stretching, with any force anyway. Press down into your right heel, use that activation to roll your pubic bone down a little bit. We're going adductor, we're going to externally rotate your foot, turn it to the left, press through the ball of your big toe. Exhale, legs going out to the side. Inhales, bringing you back up. We just got into some of this more superficial fascia, which tends to get a little stuck. This is part of the sitting thing. So remember, we're just pausing here. We've switched hands with the strap. And then you're going to do this E version. You're going to turn as if you were walking on the little toe side of your foot. Really activate that, stretch through it. And then it's really helpful if you have someone else to do it. But you can use your left thumb to kind of anchor the hip. And remember, we're going to kind of resist that bigger twist move. And we're just taking the leg across the body. You're really reaching to the little toe side of your foot. And some of us, if this is opening up a whole lot of feedback from body, then of course you might want to work it a little bit more or revisit it again in the near future. But I'll keep us going. Left arm is out to the side. Exhale, legs going across. Pause when your left shoulder wants to come up. In some version, turn body to the left. Inhale down into pelvic floor through lower heel. Exhale towards heart through crown. Inhales, bringing you back up to center. Shake your foot loose, bend your knee to get out of here. You might want to take a moment to just happy baby it, or just any Baddha Konasana, take a moment just to give yourself a little bit of movement and feeling. The last thing I'm going to suggest on the asana front is, just in the next minute or so, is give yourself something even before you stretch out. And the one I'll often suggest is just a little physical therapist trick, which is just you bring your palms to your thighs and you press them together, pressing thighs into palms and vice versa. You'll just feel your low back engage. We just want to give ourselves something symmetrical post the twist to clear the low back. Then you're just going to stretch out into Shavasana the next 30 seconds or so. And this is some of my regular folks will recognize this one on my list of, I learned them as advanced relaxation practices from Ralph Slovak, Pandit Upadesh, quite a soul. Anyway, Shavasana, this one is called, so often you'll hear it taught as 61 points, but Shavasana actually means inner traveling through the body, and it's just much cooler than 61 points. But there are 61 points. The only little technique piece on this is it's kind of like you're seeding yourself with these stars. So at each point, I'll just invite you to see and feel a blue star-like point of energy, and that star is just going to remain. But mostly, assuming you have settled in, just take a moment, feel body open to earth. Gratitude available perhaps even in this very support. Take a moment just to, and maybe it's just available and there's just kind of this broader energy of gratitude and peace. Or maybe a little bit of the practice of it, of kind of zooming in to that person you have just a vibrant love for, or vice versa. Just connect to the field of gratitude. The energy of it, the taste of it. Body open to earth, earth supporting body. After all our good, conscious breath work, just be less of the breather. Breathing's happening. Not so much the doer. Bring your attention to the eyebrow center at the brain. At this point, just see and feel a blue star-like point of energy. Just pulsing with life. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at your throat center. Star-like point of energy at your heart center. At your right shoulder. At your right elbow. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy deep in your right wrist. The tip of your right thumb. The tip of your index finger. Tip of your middle finger. Tip of your little finger. Sorry, index finger. Tip of your little finger. See a blue star-like point of energy in your right wrist joint, your right elbow joint, your right shoulder joint, at your heart center. Blue star-like point of energy at your left shoulder joint, your left elbow joint, your left wrist joint, the tip of your left thumb, tip of your index finger, tip of your middle finger, star-like point of energy at the tip of your index finger, tip of your little finger. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy in your left wrist joint, left elbow joint, left shoulder joint. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at your heart center, the navel center. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at the core of your pelvis, deep in your right hip joint. Blue star-like point of energy at your right knee joint, at your right wrist, right ankle joint. The tips of the toes on the right side, the big toe, the second toe, third toe, tip of the fourth toe, the fifth toe, your right ankle joint, your right knee joint, your right hip joint, at the core of your pelvis. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at your left hip joint, your left knee joint, at your left ankle joint, the tips of your toes on the left side, the big toe, the second toe, the middle toe, the fourth toe, the little toe. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy in your left ankle joint, your left knee joint, at the core of your pelvis. See a star-like point of energy at the navel center at your spine. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at your heart center, at your throat center. See and feel a blue star-like point of energy at the eyebrow center at your brain, pulsing with life. Feel yourself as cosmic space. Into the universe of you. Simply let go. Let go.
feeling life, feeling breath. And all the layers of improbability that make us possible. Allow this moment to be possible, this moment of consciousness and peace and gratitude. One of my favorite quotes from the tradition, I have too many, but if intention is a seed, then gratitude is the fertile soil from which it will flourish. You might want to take a moment, this field of palpable gratitude, just a seed and intention, maybe one you're working with already. It's something that is just broad and relevant to your current circumstance. Excuse me. Seed that with a deeper breath. So gratitude for your own vitality and your desire to grow and to support, to know that brings us together. Stretch out through fingers and toes. I know I'm pushing the time here a little bit, but I think, because especially given our paradigm, I think I'll stay with, I said I was going to work a little bit of heart empowerment. So if you feel like it, you could absolutely stay prone if you like. If you'd like to sit, we'll just do maybe just a little less than 10 minutes. You can just roll to a side and press yourself up and set up a seat, or bump yourself up into a conveniently located chair. And if you're off to other things, thank you so much. And yes, take advantage of the schedule, and I hope to see you tomorrow or next week. A lot of you guys know this one, and as you come up to any seat you'd like, that just allows you to have a tall spine. I've been a big fan of the Adi Mudra. That's where we just wrap our fists up, or wrap our thumbs up, rather, like little baby fists. You should be in a pretty good space. Just feel stillness. Feel the freedom of breath. And the effortless it affords. This one has a very visual quality, but the energy of it, the feeling is just as relevant, if not more so than how it shows up internally for us. But the feeling is love and light and brightness, the essence of freedom and deep intelligence in the space above you. Feel this vibrance, this ocean of grace and freedom. the energy that makes all breath alive. Just get a sense of it in the physical space above you. And then just feel it all around you, even beneath you. As inhale happens, this light, this love is simply drawn from the space above you through the very top of your head and down into your heart. As exhale happens, this light, this love is just seated, penetrating all the layers of heart and mind. Receive it. On the second round, inhale lifts negativity, sadness, even pain are lifted out of the heart into the space above you, into this ocean of light and grace. And on exhale, this stuff is just offered freely into this light, received and let go of. Inhale, light and love are drawn into heart. Exhale, it penetrates through you. Inhale, lifts heaviness, sadness, even pain lifted out of the heart. Exhale, offered. Although the practice is sourced from imagination, as it becomes more established, let it become less and less of a doing. It just sort of becomes like the rhythm of the surf washing in and out of you. More of something that's happening than a doing. And as mind wanders, it's what minds do. Just come back to the very worthwhile practice of feeding and clearing your heart. Feel a sense of brightness, expanding at heart. Recognizing the practice is perfect and just as it should be. Maybe experiencing a sense of light at the heart begins just to stand on its own. this is a newer practice, or heart is a little heavier, it could take some time before we have this experience of the light. But know that it is there. This light of truth, this light of freedom and gratitude, this light that cuts the bonds of suffering and misidentification. Be in the effortless surf-like pulse of practice, or just be resting in the light. As mind moves somewhere else, just come back to the feeding and clearing. Mining this deeper source of gratitude, of empathy, compassion, love. How cool are you? I'll just ask you to bring that image of yourself, perhaps as a child, right back into this resource of heart, this source and destination. Let's seal that in. Right hand goes to heart, left hand goes on top of right. Take a breath into the warmth of your hands, but also take a bigger breath into the back of your heart simultaneously. I'm just going to look inside. You might want to slide into Anjali Mudra, the seal of offering. Knowing this practice of our heart is in fact an offering to all the beings we share the world with. As we illuminate our own path, light is just spread. Namaste, yogis.